And hello again, and here we are back on my drive, and in front of me I have the carbs I've just removed from the bike. And the reason I've done that is because at the end of the last episode I got the bike running, but only on 3 cylinders. And I think the problem lies with the carburetor, and in particular the number 1 carburetor here, because that was the cylinder that wasn't firing up correctly. So I've taken the carbs off the bike, I'm going to strip them all down, clean them and reassemble them, hopefully as good as new, and then we'll get them back on the bike, and then fingers crossed, double fingers crossed, the bike will run at last correctly. But I am interested to see if I can spot the problem in this number 1 carb. So I'm going to take off the float ball and study those jets that I can see very carefully with a magnifying glass, just to see if I can spot any problems. And so, let's begin. So, let's undo the smaller jet here. It came off quite easily. There we go. Let's have a look at that. Right, so it's really small, you can't really see it on the camera, but that looks okay. It's not blocked, I can see light through the tiny little hole. So that looks okay. I mean, I will clean it, but doesn't look too bad, that. Now, I am going to keep all these little parts, little jets and such like, in a little bag here. Can't lose them. And all the screws, all the jets, everything should be kept together per carburetor. You don't want to go mixing up the parts of different carbs, because they do wear slightly differently, and you want to put them all back where they belong. So we'll pop in a little bag here, like that, and then we shall continue. Right, so what else can we find? We've got this big main jet here. Let's have a look. So far it's coming apart quite easily. Oh, now can you see that? The O-ring, the sitting O-ring just fell apart as I took it apart, which is not good. You see that there? I'm not sure the camera can pick it up, but yeah, that's not a good start, is it? So maybe that could be a bit of an issue, but we'll keep going. So there's the main jet emulsion tube, and there's the needle in there. And so now I've removed all 4 float bowls and all 4 main jets, and on 3 of those main jets the seal, little washer, was damaged, so that's not a good start. But anyway, it came apart quite well so far. So now I'm going to take off the floats, and then we'll look at the top of the carbs and then try and take the whole thing apart. And so to remove the floats, it's really easy. You just have to push out the pin, the hinge pin that holds it in place. Just put a little sharp instrument there, push it, and it just pulls out. Nothing else keeps it in place. So that's pretty damn simple. So we'll keep all them together. So this is number 3 carb, so I'll put them in the number 3 box. Right, so I'm now taking off the carb tops, because I need to access a nut underneath each one of them, which holds in place the shaft, which goes all the way across all 4 carburetors. And so take that off there. So I've now got to loosen off these 4 bolts, which hold in place this shaft here. Once I've done that, hopefully I can just knock it out, and that will help me separate all 4 carbs. And so now, with those bolts removed and a retainer removed that was here, I should be able to remove this shaft. Apparently it goes out from the left, and you can push it from the right. So I'll try to do that just by hand, and it just stops. You can see it's moving. And the problem seems to be not with any of these, because these seem quite loose inside the carbs, but maybe in here. I think the shaft is quite rusty, where it's been exposed to the elements, particularly here. So maybe it's just hitting a problem. Now I don't really want to hit this hard with a hammer, if it should just come out, but I don't think I've missed anything. Let's just undo that there. Perhaps that needs to come out all the way. Little bolt. I thought I just loosened it off, but I'll take the whole thing out. Right, so will that make a difference? No, oh yes it will. Oh well, thank God for that. Yeah, I undid the bolt, but I left it in place, so that wasn't very good. Right, so with that done then, I can now hopefully just push this little shaft all the way out. Don't push it too hard. There we go. Yeah, a bit rusty here and there, but it should come out, as you can see. Come on. Need some help. There we go. You can see here this recess where there was a retainer stopped it from moving. Right, so now with that coming out of there, very gently. Right, that's great. There we go. So that's the throttle shaft that activates all four carbs. And so next I'm going to remove the shaft which activates the choke mechanism here. So I've removed these screws which hold it in place to each carb. It should now just pull out, I think. Yeah, there you go. There's one gone. There we go. That wasn't too bad, was it? It's a bit rusty, but it's not too bad. Right, so there is the shaft which activates the choke. Now this lever's a bit rusty, perhaps we can do something about that later on. Right, let's see what's next. And so next I need to separate all four carbs from its mounting here. To do that I've got to undo all these screws here, which I've just started to do, and they were suspiciously loose. None of them were particularly tight, so I wonder if this set of carbs has been taken apart before in the past. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. Right, so let's undo these screws, and then we can separate all four carbs. This plate is now coming off. That's great. Ah, right, okay. So that backing plate, which holds everything together, has come off. I'll be very careful. I don't want to have these go flying. So yeah, let me now just very gently. I'm doing it for the camera, but it's not ideal. Right, there you go. There's number one. And the rest will now come apart. Let me move the damn thing. I don't want it falling on the floor. Right, so there we go. Let's do number four. There we go. And then these last two here, you've got an O-ring there, which is used to keep the fuel in. There we go. So there you go. I shall probably have to replace these. Right, so that's great. So that's all four carbs taken apart, and well, say taken apart, they come apart. I've now to do a bit more work and remove everything else. But first, I think a well-earned cup of tea. And so we'll continue this video when the new ultrasonic cleaning bath turns up, and we'll see how well it works with these old carbs of mine. Right, so here we have what hopefully will be my ultrasonic cleaner. Just arrived in here, so let's let's get it open, get it filled up. I've got the appropriate solution just also arrived, so we'll get that out of the box, get it plugged in, and we'll see how well it works on my old carbs. And so now I filled it with around 10 litres of water, because this is a 10-litre cleaner, and now I've got to set the temperature I want and the time I want. So it's now set to 50 degrees, which I think is maximum. It's now up to 34, so I've got to wait a little while, and that should go up eventually to 50. So in terms of time, I've not done that yet, so I'll go up and down and set. So I want to do about I don't know, half an hour, 15 minutes, I'm not sure. Here we go, 25 minutes will do. Right, okay, so it's 25 minutes and that's ready to go. Do I press a button? Does it oh, okay, it's doing something. Not sure what, but it's doing something. Okay, yeah, so now it's now working, but first of all I need to pour in my cleaner here, and then I'll pop in the car bodies. So wish me luck. Now we've got to wait, what, 25 minutes or so? Oh, down to 70 minutes. It's quite funny, the floats do indeed float, so yeah, I should have thought about that. Right, so now we've just got to wait. Let's put the lid on, make sure it stays nice and warm. Well, actually today's quite a warm day, so I think we should be okay. Right, just wait for another 60 minutes and we'll see how it turns out. Right, so that's finished now. Let's have a look what's inside the cleaner. Well, it's pretty warm actually. It got up to temperature okay. Yeah, it's quite warm. And Let's have a look. Well, that's got pretty dirty, hasn't it? So that's fine. They're not too bad. Sliders look okay. I'm really interested in the bodies of the carbs, which are right down there. So let's dig out all this and lay it all out, get it cleaned off, and see how good this ultrasonic cleaner's done its job. And so here are the parts all laid out, and I think it worked pretty well. The bodies are really clean, very pleased with that. I've noticed that these tops here, these carb tops, were vaguely polished. They've now gone dull, so I guess it dulls off polished parts. The slides look really clean, that's fine. I've kept all of the jets and so on in their own separate bags, but yeah, they look pretty clean. I did, however, see a couple of parts, these little parts here, which are linked into the choke. And three were really clean, but one was still quite dirty, so I looked at it and it had really hard baked on muck on it. I don't know why, so I've cleaned that off with a brush and then put it back in the machine for 5 minutes. It's pretty clean now. So while it's not a sort of miracle worker, it does work pretty damn well. Looking at the float balls here, that's pretty clean. That one's got a bit of muck still in the base of it. That one is, yeah, a bit of muck in the bottom, and that one's got quite a lot of muck on the bottom. So I think it might need a bit more time to remove all that really hard-on baked crap that's in the bottom of there. Now I gave it about 25 minutes, but the first few minutes of that must have been quite cold. Took a while to warm up, so yeah, I think I might try putting some of these parts back in again. But yeah, so far so good, pretty happy with it. So next then is the rather tedious job of trying to put all these carbs back together again. And so it's now time to rebuild the carbs, and to that end I've bought myself a little rebuild kit here, which includes all the gaskets you need and also the O-rings. And the thing about this particular kit is that the O-rings are resistant to ethanol based petrol, the E5, the E10 petrols we have these days, unlike the original O-rings, which deteriorate if you use ethanol based petrols in these carbs. So with that end then, I've now fitted the first little seal to this main jet, and it can go back in there, screw it down, and that's one little task completed. And next we have these four choke plungers, and I'm going to replace the seals here and here with the new ones from the kit. And so here we have the first carb that I finished rebuilding, and it's not looking too bad, but I could make it look a lot better by polishing the float bowl and polishing the carb top. But I'm not going to do that because it would end up being a hell of a task in the future keeping them polished and shiny when all four carbs are on the engine. So I'm just going to do a light polish on it, and that will do. You may also notice that I've got some brand new fasteners here. These are stainless steel, but the top ones are a little bit too long, so I've got some new ones on the way. I've also got some new brass fasteners to replace these rusty ones here, which are used to bleed the float bowl. So they're not here yet. So that's one done and 3 more to go. And next I've just removed these drain plugs from the float bowls because I just had a delivery of these brand new brass screws to replace them. Got the first one in, and now I've got to do the rest. And so there are those new brass screws on the float bowls, and I must say it is a great improvement, so I'm pretty happy with that. And now it's time to synchronise the 4 carb sliders, and to do that I need to use this, which is a 0.7mm thick piece of wire, and that wire should just be a sliding fit between the bottom of the slides, if you see that there, and the bottom of the carb. And yeah, they seem pretty damn similar. Let's have a look at this. Little wire will fit in there. It's a bit fiddly. Right, well that won't, and that won't. Right, so all of them are a little bit too far down, so I need to bring them all up, only by probably, I don't know, 0.1, 0.2 of a mil, and then get them all to be precisely the same, so all of them have just a nice sliding fit of this wire in that gap we can see here. And to do that, we turn the carbs over to the top. These are the activators for the sliders, and if I now activate the throttle by hand, as it were, you see them moving up and down. Each of them has an adjuster on top, a bit like a valve I guess, and each one's got a lock nut. So I'm just going to ease off the lock nuts and turn the adjuster and hopefully get these sliders all equally the same and 0.7mm from the bottom of the carb. So come back when I've done that. And now the carbs are pretty much back together again and almost finished. And I say almost finished because I'm still waiting on the correct size fasteners here. These are all too long, so these need to be replaced with the correct ones, and they haven't arrived yet. I've also got a problem because I can't find a little spring that sits behind this bolt here, which helps secure this choke lever. Don't know where it's gone. It could be in the garage somewhere. I'll have a look for it, but if I can't find it, I'll have to buy a new one, assuming they're available. The only other issue I've found as I'm messing about with the carbs is that when I activate the choke here, it doesn't go very far. It only goes about 2/3 or a halfway where it should go. So I'm not sure why that's the case. It could be because I've got the new seals in there and it's a bit sticky, but I don't want to sort of force this thing and force it to go up. It really doesn't want to go any more than that. I'm not sure that's a problem or not. I'll have to contact the experts on the internet and find out if that's an issue or not. Now, apart from that, I would have liked actually to replace more parts with new. This spring is pretty rusty. I could buy a new one. They're about £10. I'm tempted to do so. Also, we've got, let's see, on this side, yeah, we've got a few old nuts and bolts that I've had to refit. I'm not sure if they're available or not here. But then again, I have to remind myself that this is not for a show bike, so a bit of wear and tear is quite acceptable. Even though I would like to get them looking like new if possible, but that would take an awful long time and cost an awful lot more money. So I think that's pretty much it for now. As I say, I'm not quite sure what the issue is with the choke, but I will hopefully find an answer soon. And so I can't really do much more with the carbs for the time being. And as I say, I will fit them to the bike as soon as these few new parts arrive. So I think that's about it for this video. And hopefully in the next episode, we'll get these rebuilt carbs on the bike and it'll run beautifully, and that'll be that. Well, fingers crossed. So that's it for now then. So thanks for watching and cheers.